Welcome to another episode of the Horticulture Podcast, soccer podcast for us, by us. Talk about your section of Black culture and American soccer. Got your boy here, Greggo here. Got my homegirl from Austin, the Miss Airness herself, Miss Imani Williams.
What's good, man? We finally got here. We had a little technical difficulties before, but we made it in the end. We out here. It's good to be here with you tonight.
Yeah. Glad to have you on. Like I said, this episode actually won't be excessively long because there's really only one thing that I want to talk about. Now, for those of y'all that don't know Miss Imani Dub, she had the good fortune of being one of the capos at the USWNT game against Ireland. Of course, I had experience like this, this is almost an old hat for you at this point, right?
Yeah, right. I've done this a lot. It feels like home a little bit. It feels, Austin FC is it's such a privilege to be able to be part of Austin FC because the support is so huge, and the club does so many things to make sure that the supporters can do as much as they can. Basically, I don't think any club in the world has their supporters with as much privilege as Austin FC supporters in terms of backing for the club. What the club has done to make supporting the team easy, doing a lot of things to almost sponsor away travel and make it a lot easier for us to get access to tickets and all these special events, and it's very cool. And they keep it going, they keep it moving. But yeah, U.S. soccer gets it's like being at an actual professional sporting event. Where it's like being in an NFL game. It's like you're not going to be hanging out on the sidelines getting high fives from the players. It's a much more intense experience, but
much more buttoned up.
Yeah, a lot more buttoned up. But that's what I know. That's what I know. Compared to Austin FC, it's like night and day. But it's always good to go out there and support the teams. For us, it was a really busy day on the Capo side because we had the TIFO, which I haven't been super healthy the last month or two. So I didn't really help too much of the TIFO, but when it comes to rigging, getting everything ready in the stadium, that's my bread and butter. So, by the time we got there, it was definitely easier to be able to help. So yeah, then after that, we had the card stunt, so there was the TIFO and then there was the card stunt.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then, that was,
y'all going all out.
Yeah,
y'all doing anything y'all.
That was U.S. soccer though too, but it was just I had to prep the crowd, make sure the crowd knew what was happening, just to make sure that people who've never experienced that know what a mosaic is. They have little eye slits in the mosaic so people don't miss the game.
What's happening? Yeah. I just know I'm holding this thing up.
Exactly. It was incredible. But then, the TIFO was a collaborative TIFO. So unlike Austin FC, where everything is happening locally, we had people sending in parts of the TIFO from all over the country, and we had a main part of the TIFO coming from national. They'd worked on in another part of the country, so it came in, and it didn't get late. So it got here a day later, and then it rained the next 2 days, and you can't do TIFO.
Did it just rain everywhere this weekend? Because here in Atlanta, Saturday was just a shitty rainy mess, and just in time for Easter on Sunday. Of course, for everybody who does celebrate, happy resurrection. But yes, Lord, yes.
And
but yeah, it's. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, man, listen, I might have to include Ramadan in one of my to take care of our players. Like I said, I'll get into that later. But yes, the TIFO got.
Oh boy, I thought this was supposed to be a short episode because we can talk about Mo Salah and Ramadan. We can talk about all sorts of things if you want.
I see you trying to sneak in that Liverpool scarf. I see you over there. We try to stay focused here. Try to stay focused. But yeah, we'll trust me.
I got the U.S. scarf in the background. Okay.
But yes,
I gotta rep all the teams.
But yeah, we'll definitely make sure to get up in that 2 up down. But yeah, of course, before I go get too far, of course, thank you for checking some different podcast apps. Apple Podcasts is somehow back because I honestly I don't know what I fixed, I don't know if I'd mix anything. I just know it's we're the episodes are back up on there. Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all of them, and of course the FTC UTD YouTube channel. So yeah, we're at the TIFOs, we're at the card stunts. So like when you're capoing, like how much of the game are you actually able to like really watch?
Yeah, of course. Like, so it's when it comes to watching the game, it's different depending on what stadium you're in. Also, we're really lucky to have the Jumbotron right in front of us. So it makes it easier, but also harder because if it's easy to be distracted from doing your role.
Yeah, because you can see what's going on. Like, oh shit! Like,
yeah. So if it's easy to be distracted from your role, So like there's that, but it depends also like how much help you have, how many people you have going on. Like Austin's a rebuilding chapter. Like it's founded in 2010, so yeah, It's 13 years old. People have like run the chapter, got married, had kids, bought a house, retired. And like so it's been a while. So we're kind of rebuilding. So like trying to find enough people that know the songs and then also have the confidence to like jump on this platform is huge. You'll also experience like a lot of weirdness from we have a lot of Mexico fans, and I think there's a little bit of bashing, a lot of AO bashing, and there's a lot of new people in soccer here that really just didn't know what we got to Austin FC. So we're not getting like anywhere near the recruiting numbers that we should. But it's kind of hard to do that, like when the biggest, and most influential supporters group is actively telling people how much you suck. And unfortunately, for AO, people don't know the songs. Like, I don't care if you're an AO or not. If you but
AO's been using the same songs for like the last 8 to 10 years, so it's not that hard. But I will say this.
Listen, here's the thing though. We have other songs that no one bothered to learn. Like, I try to mix it up. If you like listen to Capo, I'll try to mix it up. And like, people are like, they just don't know them. And even for the Women's World Cup coming up, I've got 2 songs like ready to go for Alex Morgan and Julie Ertz that are fun and like, let's go. But like, again, if people don't learn them, then you're just a crazy person singing up there. You need more than like 5 or 10 people to like know the songs. That is true. There's other complications with that too. Like there's other complications. For example, back in the glory days of AO, as I like to call it, like right up until like 2016, 2017 was probably like the end of it for real. But those glory days of AO, we used to have our own section. Like it would just be the AO section. AO distributed the tickets themselves. There was really nobody else in our section that wasn't invited. And so when it came to like starting the songs and building the culture and stuff like that, like that was huge. Because now, like I had to deal with, on Saturday, people right behind the drums sitting the whole game. Like you're like 1 row or 2 rows behind the drums, and you're just sitting in the supporter section, chilling the whole game. And those aren't AO. Oh no! Like it's not the AO section. It's rough, but I don't know. It's like when it comes to like how much you see the game, you've got to read the game and all that kind of stuff. Like for me, Saturday was one of the hardest games I've ever capoed in my life. Really, that was really hard. I was pretty much the only capo. We had our friend Paul. I had people that I just recruited up.
Say Donald wasn't capo because usually that like kind of like that's like his like de facto hometown. So like usually when
you know what, Donald needs a day off every now and again too.
That is true. That is true.
Like,
I will say that. I will say that. Like he goes like he's everywhere, and God bless him. And it kind of like how you go into went to a little while ago, like you want to get that new generation in, like whether it's for club or for country, like with AO, and it's like people do get older, they do get families, and it's like and like doing the supporter side of it that part of it, it gets a little harder and harder to do because I gotta go, pick up my kid from babysitting. I gotta go, do some. I gotta have date night with my wife and everything, and it not be a soccer game. and like things like that. Like,
yeah, you gotta balance that. You gotta balance that out.
And like depending on like what type of community outreach that you have, just as far as like just welcoming new people in, because like that's a huge thing I believe when it comes to developing a supporters group, because it's not just about like who's there right now. At the end of the day, it's always about like who are you bringing up, and and giving them the culture so that at some point they'll be like, hey, I've been wanting to do this for a long time. Like, whenever the opportunity comes, hey, let me see what I could do it. And that's how this thing keeps on going. Because I mean, like people can't be capo for like 20 years. It sounds great in theory, but it just
no, it doesn't. No, like people don't understand. Like it's something that you want to pass on. Like you were spot on there. Like it is something that is made for you to pass on to somebody else. And I think that's how football traditions become strong and how clubs become strong, because strong support makes strong clubs. And so like I said when Austin FC was getting started, and before the club had even had a coach or anything, I was like, I want a capo for like maybe 2-3 years, maybe 4 years, maybe, like, but I'm done after that. I want to just help train the next generation of people, and then I actually want to sit back and enjoy a match and not do anything. My God, I have so much stuff to do. Saturday, like I said, was one of the most challenging games we ever capoed. We had to rig the TIFO. We were in the stadium at 8 in the morning. We had to finish rigging the TIFO at 8 a.m. because the piece didn't come in on time. We got rained out.
Wow.
So we had to do it like at the stadium, 8 o'clock in the morning, do all the banner hanging and stuff. The police ended up canceling our march. We were supposed to do a march. I'm not going to lie, I was pretty relieved because 1:30 kickoff, I kind of wanted to relax after doing TIFO.
No, I get it. I get it. I definitely get it.
So there was that. So I was kind of just, everyone's like, is there a march? And I was like, no, it's early. We're just going to let people go because the police were supposed to give us an escort. They didn't. We didn't want to just walk on the sidewalk or, anything like that. So then we had to, raise the TIFO, which is, well, for Austin FC, when we raise the TIFO, they close our section, right? Okay. Huge privilege to have them actually close our section, where the ropes are.
Okay.
So they close, they have an entire row across the supporter section where the TIFO ropes are, where they rope off, and even if your seats are there, you're not supposed to access that section. Security will tell you to leave unless you're on the TIFO team. You're pulling the ropes, right? It makes it really easy to just jump on and be a rope puller. But then, for us, it's not that simple. Everyone is in their seats because it's U.S. soccer, so everyone's seated already. So you have to have a lot of conversation with people before the game starts of hey, this is what's going to happen. This person's going to sit in front of you. Just so you know, during this time, we're going to be raising this TIFO. Please watch your feet and all this kind of stuff. And then as the stadium fills up, you got to make sure you don't lose your TIFO pullers in the crowd because you have people coming from all over the country. It's not like your friends that you always hang out with every week that are in town. So just another different dynamic for U.S. soccer. Then card thing. The injuries, horrific. I'm so upset about what happened to Mal Swanson. Let's get up in that real quick because like I said, the U.S. women, they played Ireland on Saturday. They also have one more game. I believe it's tomorrow, Tuesday, and so first of all, if that's what we're going to give at the World Cup, we might be in trouble because, all things considered, there are some times where Ireland was giving us some good Well, here's
work.
the thing. Ireland was also pretty, rough and tumble. Not to mention, a lot of the players are, American.
Yes, they were.
They, grew up here, went to school here, and kind of, were kind of recruited to restart Ireland's women's national team because Ireland's women's national team was literally been back in 2000. I had a friend that used to play for them back before anyone cared, and they had no funding, they had nothing, no travel. There was you had to pay for your own travel. There was so much going on, and there was nothing really for Irish women's soccer. People just shrugged your shoulders if you paid for them, and so I was kind of really happy to see at least some investment being made, and because at the end of the game, the Irish players stuck around for a long time to like hug their families and all that kind of stuff. It represents a huge journey for them as players, to even just step on the pitch with the women's national team at the international level, play for Ireland, which is, you know, their culture. That's why they're on the team. So that's pretty exciting for them. And again, full circle for me, because I grew up in an Irish community, and I don't know what I would have done to really get to know soccer culture if it wasn't for people like in the New Haven and the Irish American Club in Hamden, Connecticut, and everyone over there. So absolutely huge.
Cool.
But
Cool.
Mal Swanson, I got used to that still. I still want to do the Pew Pew Pews as her song. I'm like, I want to ask her that.
I mean, we got to figure something out for that, because like, you know, I want to say Sky still do something to reference that, even though they're still calling her Mal Swanson now. But yeah, so first off, we had to talk about she got knocked down, I think like in like the 11th or 12th minute, and had like some type of knock to her back. Now, did you see that? Because I'll be honest, I missed. I just saw her when she was on the ground, and like they showed a close up of her face, and she looked shook to shit. And I was like, oh, whatever's going on, this, like, it looks kind of scary. But surprisingly, she got back up, and eventually she came back, and she went back into the game. Yeah. Fast forward about maybe 15, 20 minutes later, she has the collision with one of the Ireland players, and they showed one shot of her knee. And I was like, oh no. Because like at first I thought it was an ACL, but of course, we come to find out later, which actually kind of makes sense. It was actually a torn patella tendon. So all this considered, like, she's likely out of the World Cup, and that's a real shame, because two things. One, she's been absolutely on fire so far this year. I think she scored like 8 goals in the previous 6 games for the U.S. women, and like she's basically been like, yeah, outside of like Sophia Smith, like she's been like our most informed attacker, and then second of all, like, because anybody that was on the socials, especially on Twitter, in the immediate moments during both injuries, and ourselves included, like, there is a reasonable amount of venom going towards the head coach Vlatko, just as far as, because, like, granted, this is the last break before the World Cup that starts in July. However, I'm going to just go on a limb and just say that Mal Swanson's spot was safe, and that there was no reason for her to keep playing.
Yeah.
There is no reason for to go ahead and just say, take her out and say, hey, we're gonna play it safe. We're gonna make sure she's good, and if she's good to go, for Tuesday, she can play. But instead, she goes right back in, and the knee injury happens. And I mean, like I said, injuries happen. But again, you're talking about a friendly going into a World Cup. Just say, hey, we're gonna play it safe here. Let's just go ahead and bring it in and work this out. It's a real unfortunate thing that had to happen. What were your thoughts?
It was absolutely terrible, and I completely agree with everything you just said. There is absolutely no reason to risk a player of her importance and of her caliber in a friendly this close to the World Cup after already taking a clearly visible knock. I mean, I didn't see it until after it happened, and for us, because I was lead capo, so I was busy helping to call the songs and then starting the songs, and we don't have a murder or a band. We don't even have megaphones because US Soccer doesn't allow megaphones because they don't want anyone to yell anything that they could get in trouble with. So they don't. Yeah, but they don't allow megaphones anymore. We always have to fight people about megaphones. So at first I didn't see it. And because we're trying to figure out what song we're going to do next. And then someone's like, wait, hold on, there's an injury. And I look behind me, and like I saw the play, but I didn't see the injury. But yeah, she was down. And then, you know, we obviously stopped singing out of respect. I think I'm a very big believer of like when a player is down the pitch, you're supposed to stop singing. So the band should stop. I'm like a very, very big believer in that, just to give the medical staff some peace and the ability to hear, especially things like breathing and other things that might be important. You never know with the medical issue. I know for us, FC, we literally never stop when any player is down. But for us, for AO, we always make sure we do, and just US Soccer in general, whether it's AO or Barra 76 or whoever's up there with us. But she looked out of it, man. She just looks, you know.
Yeah, like they're like during the first knock, like so they had the TV cameras had like one quick close up of her face, and like she's like she is like, what the fuck is going on? And just in the moment, I was like, whatever's going on, she needs to be off this pitch.
Yeah, like you speak the truth.
And
speak it.
And again, like you're talking about, you're trying to, you know, make sure, you know, everything's kind of like as working as best as it can before the World Cup. But I'm like, she's not fighting for a spot. If for some reason, cause I know, like I heard some really some Flacco was talking outside of his neck before Saturday's game, talking about like, you know, she could do a little bit more. She could have scored four goals against Kansas City. I was like, dog, like what are we doing here? But that's Sophia Smith. But yeah, like you keep needling these players, and you know, trying to get them to do more and push for more. And I get that to an extent, but I'm like, at some point you also have to be like, hey, she's good. Yeah, go ahead, come on out here, and you know, we'll make sure, like I said, if we need you on Tuesday, cool. But otherwise, we're gonna make sure we will wrap you up in bubble wrap and make sure you on the plane to New Zealand.
To it. And like after we stop it, and we kind of, you know, we already knew what time we were gonna do. I don't get to turn around very often, so I had a really good view of like how she was doing, and like, you know, she's literally right in front of me. I think probably like 8 feet away maximum. And so I was looking down on it because I'm obviously on the capo stand, so I'm in even more of an elevated position, and she didn't look comfortable. People were saying, because I didn't see it happen in real time. I saw they didn't show the replay in the stadium, at least not when I was. I probably was communicating about something else, but somebody said she got kicked in the head, and they're like, she got kicked in the head. And then they were like, oh no, she got kicked in the spine or the back. And so, like, it's like the difference, like, no matter what. Like, I remember being on the capo stand with Mal Swanson on the ground in front of the goal, and I was just trying to see if her legs and her hands were moving, because the way that they lifted her up and turned her by the neck clearly was not, like, normal. Like, that wasn't just like, oh, like they just gotta knock her over. They want, like, she was like almost like out. And even if she got hit in the back, like a concussion is your brain basically slapping up against your skull inside your head. So even if she got hit in the back, she could still have a concussion. And I'm gonna go full Taylor Twellman and just be like, yo, the concussion protocol or whatever it is now, because they basically have it, right? They have it. Should have been taken over. And because it's a friendly and a nothing game, it should have meant she came out for all the reasons that you said. And she looks so uncomfortable. And I'm going to go out on a limb. And say this. And I'm sure if you talk to enough specialists, you might get people who would think the same. They've got to be specialists, though, not just random people, right? There's definitely a possibility that if she had a concussion or close to a concussion, it could have affected her fast twitch muscle ability, and also like that extra half second or like 0.2 of a second difference is the difference between her successfully riding a challenge without injury and her leaving her leg on the ground for an instant longer and all of a sudden sustaining this awful injury, because Ireland were rough the whole game. They were just battering them because by skill, it was no friendly. I was like, this is the roughest friendly I've ever seen in my life. It was awful. They could have had 2 red cards really early on. The referee had almost no control of the game. And it's just like, they can't just come here and batter us and try to get a result. You never know. These could have been the girls that beat them in college and high school. You never know what kind of rivalries are there. And so the referee's got to come in there and be like, yo, like, you can't do this. And she should have been taken out. Concussion protocol should have been put into effect. She's too much of an important player to risk. And I do believe that maybe if she could have reacted faster, then there's a chance that she could have, like, ridden that challenge, because it was a terrible challenge. And also, it's not the first time. There are some bad challenges in women's soccer sometimes. There's bad challenges in soccer, period. But part of being a great player is making sure those leg breakers people try to put on you don't work when you embarrass them. You know what I mean? Because they know you're going to go. Yeah, when you're a top player, like, that's one of the big things about being a top player, too, is, like, not only do you have to, like, fight, for your position or whatever, but also, like, people are going to come after you, and if they can't be better than you on the pitch with their tactical ability, some people just don't handle that well in life, and they're going to come after you and try to hurt you, put a little knock on you, leave a leg in, and that's just part of the game. So, like, for her at her level,
you have to know how to you have to know how to protect yourself when possible.
Her ability to do that might have been compromised a little bit.
Of course,
so that's what I saw being so close. Kind of like understanding concussions in sports, and it's not something that. It's a lot of heat on Latko to put before the World Cup, so I don't know if they want that kind of attention on the camp right now, but it's a little bit glaring.
I mean, but that's the thing, because like he had some real, like, off the wall comments going into the game. Then you see what happened here with Mal Swanson. I'm like why not be, like I said, why not be proactive and just say, hey, let's go ahead and take her out. Because I get it, players want to play, ballers want to ball.
She's our Harry Kane. She's our, like, Mo Salah. She's like Alex Morgan is not at the age where, like, going to a World Cup is like playing a Champions League game every 4 days. I don't care, like, men's or women's, it doesn't matter. Like, you're playing against the best teams in the world every 4 days. It is grueling. It's an endurance contest for the end. If you want to win the whole thing, you've got to be able to endure. And, like, we needed her to kind of be someone that we can rely on every game and that could potentially play every game and go almost 90 minutes or more, because extra time every single game. And it's just like, there's no reason to risk the player, and I agree with you, and seeing it in real time is really hard, because when you there's a lot of questions there. There's a lot of questions of, like, there's
definitely.
It was hard to watch up close, too, because you could see somebody, like, it's rough.
Yeah, it's definitely rough. Now, the U.S. has called up the Angel City rookie Alyssa Thompson to replace Mal Swanson on the team. Is she a possibility as far as making the trip to the World Cup, or do we think that we have to look somewhere else?
I'm not really sure. Like, it's. I think to be a great choice, obviously, but I'm not really sure. One of my things about Vlatko, we will see. I mean, here, the national team for the women, the league should always be the feeder, technically, right? So your domestic league is always going to feed your national team. But for us, a lot of ways, it was the opposite, where the national team fed the domestic league. And because the European leagues are going stronger, WSL is way stronger, German league's always been strong. What's happening with Real Madrid, Barcelona is great. The Women's Champions League is fantastic the last 3 or 4 years. You have to wonder if we're taking, like, all the advantages. Like, I'm not really sure, like, the traditional thing with a league is, like, you bring the best players with you, of course you have to play well, stats count, but also, like, yeah.
I mean, it should. I mean, that's, of course, with the way things are with the women's team. Of clearly there's a lot of politics involved in a lot of the player selection, and of course in this position here, like you have an opportunity where you could just as easily look to some of your vets like a Tobin Heath or, quite frankly, a Kristen Press, and or you could look to somebody younger and like a Amir Ali or a Jaden Shaw. Be like, hey, because they're killing it as well.
Yeah, who's
so
the next A-Rod? Like, who's the next A-Rod?
And of course,
it was just like consistently awesome for so long. It was kind of always flying under the radar, but it was so vital for like World Cup and Olympic campaigns of being that like third striker, that third winger. You know what I mean? That like third player you can rely on.
Yeah.
Like who's like A-Rod? She was amazing. Amy Rodriguez. I used to love watching her play. But yeah, I think you're totally right. But I mean, yeah, I don't know because okay. So here's the thing with like NWSL, right? A lot of our top players are coming from all over the league, which is great. Well, a lot of those teams are designed for those players' specific attributes, right? So like now it's like okay. How much of that is going to 100% translate into the national team? Because until, like, literally up to, like, Megan Rapinoe, like, again, the national team fed the leagues, but the leagues weren't stable. Like, it wasn't, like, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like, people, yeah, like, yeah.
No, absolutely.
Or less familiar with soccer, just trying to get into soccer, like, there was many women's leagues that like folded and many teams that folded. Even like, I remember going to Boston Breakers games and that team's like gone. So you couldn't always judge a player based on like what they were doing for that particular team in their system. So like now there's been such a huge investment in WSL, which is fantastic, more attention, more money, it's great, and bigger TV deals and things like that. And so you have your star national team players who people want. They also want for their product, for their players to be on the national team for their product in the NWSL, kind of like MLS. And you just have to wonder, like, is the team gonna gel the way the teams of the past have? And it's almost like an impossibility because it's just people are so stretched all over the world and all over the country that, like, I don't know if we're ever going to get the teams that bonded the way they once did. And the rest of the world is also catching up in terms of their skill, talent, investment, whatever. We're no longer technically dominant. We're no longer light years ahead instead of funding and stuff. We're still goals, like, when they play Haiti and stuff, it's still a huge, massive difference. But like, I had it was something I really wanted to do in my life. I went to go see friends I hadn't seen since before COVID who were like really important to me in the UK, and I got to go see England versus USA at Wembley. Such an incredible experience. I think I'll talk about it for the rest of my life because, it was like 85,000 women and they were just packing the trains. Like, I wondered at one point, I was like, am I on the right train? And then there's just like 95% women on these trains. And so the rest of the world is catching up to see the European champions up close and the fanfare around that. They brought out the original 1972 women's team. And just the way they speak about women's soccer in the UK has changed so much in the last 5 years. And even with everything from players to pundits, characters like, Jill Scott, just very interesting. So I don't think this is going to be the toughest World Cup we've ever had. And I think we're going to struggle to like get past the quarterfinal or semifinals. Like, it's no longer like a guarantee to just buy a ticket to the final, knowing that there was probably like a 70% chance that the U.S. was going to get there, which is.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, this is something like other countries are catching up, and because we haven't been as proactive as we probably should. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those things where, like I said, like the other countries are growing, and we haven't been as proactive as we probably should have as far as, developing that next generation of our squad, because like we're still relying on Becky Sauber, we're still relying on Julie Ertz. I mean, Julie Ertz, like she's not even signed anybody. She's like, hey, we need you. Like, we gotta make it work somehow. So, that's where we are. Like, we haven't been, as proactive as we need to be, and now we're in a position where it's like, yeah, obviously there are some bright spots, but we could have had a much deeper squad to where if we did lose a Mal Swanson, be like, okay, hey, we know what to do. It sucks that happened, but now you're like, okay, like what direction do we go? Because we've been calling the same roster as much as possible for the last 12, 14 months, and now you're like, okay, who else are we looking at? I mean, obviously you have Trinity Rodman right there available, but of course, now you have to also just consider like in case something happens to her or somebody else, like who's going to be there. And of course, this is your last international break before the World Cup, so you better keep your eyes and ears open as far as who catches form between now and July. So
absolutely,
we'll
and
see.
experience is so important as well. You can't forget that, because you never know how players are going to perform until they're under pressure. And Mal Swanson is someone who can perform under pressure. A lot of our players that are in their late 20s, early 30s right now, especially they're like their early 30s, golden generation, 2-time World Cup winners. It's just playing the best women's soccer in the world. Like, it's just been amazing to watch. But who's gonna be the leaders? Because just like we saw with the men's national team, putting a lot of pressure on young players to perform, I thought we did well, but I also thought we could have done better. You know what I mean? And so I don't want to be in a situation where you kind of need leaders to kind of step up, and they're just not available, they're not there, or they're injured. But we'll see. But like I said, this is going to be the toughest World Cup the U.S. women's national team has ever had. I think it'll be a humbling experience at certain stages in the knockout rounds. I think there's a new format, so there's going to be a lot more teams this time. So the early rounds, I think, is going to be like okay, but I think when we get into the knockout rounds, that last 16, that last 8, it's gonna be leaps and bounds. It used to be we never really faced a challenge, whether it was a World Cup or the Olympic Games, until the semifinal, maybe. That's
yeah. I was chatting with Sky and Sales a couple weeks ago, and because of course they cover it, ad nauseum over at Shea Butter, and there's at least reason to question, because I mean you have Vietnam, then Netherlands, then Portugal. That Netherlands game is going to be really interesting, and I think the idea is going to be like, as long as we get past those first two, Portugal can be whatever. And so I think that a lot of pressure is going to be on that Netherlands game, just to see like where things are going to go as far as the knockout stages. But hopefully, obviously, best of luck in her recovery to Mal Swanson. Let us know what you guys think on the socials at FTC UTD. Let us know who you think should replace Mal Swanson, and again, what are you guys thinking? How confident are you guys thinking that the team will be coming out of this last international break? And so hopefully things work out well, because it's the field is thick right now. But yeah, I just got a package in the mail from one of our friends of the culture, Miss Alex Rojas, out of LA, Angel City supporter. About to go customize the new Rebellion jersey for Angel City. Now, I've heard a lot of people, talk a lot of shit about this jersey, and now that I have it in my hands, like I said, it's okay. But like I said, obviously it needs at least a little bit of sauce, it needs a little bit of juice. So, and that's what we're here to do, as far as making it all silky smooth. And of course, if you need a jersey that needs to be made all silky smooth, make sure you hit us up at ftcugt.com/shop. Get your name sets, get your shirts. I think we still have some hats. Apparently, it's still cold in some places around the country. Apparently, it's still rainy as fuck in some kind of countries, some parts of the country. So, you might still need a hoodie. So, like I said, hit us up. We got you covered, and we'll make sure that everything is good. I know, I actually have a couple of national team jerseys that I'm about to hook up. And wherever you are, KO, text me back so I can get these damn jerseys. But yeah, like I said, we got work. Everything's everything. So let's get up in this 2 Up and 2 Down. Now, of course, I'm going to be on the international episode this week. So I'm actually just going to leave it to my homegirl, Imani Dub, with this 2 Up and 2 Down. What you got, girl? Now this is the point where you go ahead and talk shit about this damn Liverpool shit.
Yeah, okay, 2 Up, 2 Down. 2 Up. Obviously, big shout to everybody in Austin that helped out with the TIFO and helped out with coordinating everything, and everybody across the country who submitted their adorable postcards wishing the national team luck in Australia and New Zealand for the World Cup. So thank you for everyone in all the AO chapters who contributed to that. My second up is... I don't know. I feel like I still have an up from last week. That was like Lukaku not taking any crap from those crappy fans in Italy.
Oh no! Oh, trust me. Let me go ahead and serve that as the foreshadow. We will be covering that on the international episode this week. That much I can guarantee.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, Lukaku. Big ups to him. My 2 downs. Both of my downs are going to go to how Mo Salah was just basically being mobbed in the final minutes of stoppage time versus Arsenal, and like they didn't even review it on VAR. I don't care at the results of the call. The fact that the referee on the field didn't even go to the sideline to do an official review was really frustrating. Here's why it's such a big deal. First of all, he's one of the best players in the world. We know this. It's not anything new. Second of all, he's fouled. Mo Salah is fouled. Mo Salah dribbles into the box
a lot,
almost more times than any player in the world. But last year and in the last couple years, he's drawn a foul. His average minutes per foul is 110. So he was going 110 minutes per average Premier League foul called per dribble in the box. There's a graph. Paul Tompkins Times. If you want to look it up, Paul Tompkins Times did an article in May of 2022 that literally just puts Mo Salah off the charts compared to literally every other player in the world. Messi, by comparison, gets a foul called every 20 minutes versus how many times he dribbles into the box. But literally Mo Salah is off the charts, not getting calls. And for me, I think for the culture, we're here to be, especially I sometimes I do want to stay a supporter because I get to say my heart and speak my heart because I believe in this game and I believe in its power to change the world, and also believe in its power to help us explore things that are difficult sometimes. But at this point in time, Islamophobia and xenophobia in the UK is absolutely huge. All of Brexit and people coming in on tiny boats and all this dog whistle language, which is very similar to our borders down here. People, Mo Salah, being as great as he is, represents something that some people in Europe consider dangerous. And so there's also, I'm not saying that anyone purposely not making calls, but I'm saying that, there's a huge cultural conversation right now happening in the UK with a community that Mo Salah kind of definitely represents, and they love him for that. I mean, Mo Salah and Sadio Mane were both 2 Muslim players for Liverpool, who, of course, they do all their fasting. Liverpool's training facility in Kirby was literally designed for Muslim players to worship and have places to wash their hands and feet so it doesn't interrupt their training, etc. So, Sadio Mane used to go clean the bathrooms in the mosque in Liverpool. Him and Mo Salah would just regularly be there just cleaning up and praying with everybody else. But he, Mo represents something not only in England but in Europe that a lot of old farts, they don't like. And I think if you go back and read all the articles and read all the statistics, the shout isn't so insane or isn't so controversial because there's data to back it up. Like there's like people who are some of the foremost analytics professionals in the world are like, there's no statistical reason why Mo Salah should not be getting more calls because he dribbles into the box more than almost any other player in the world. Yet he's getting like 200% less calls. The thing with the call of the weekend was if it was Harry Kane, the center referee would have gone over to review the footage. There's no reason that no one reviewed it. The VAR rules are weird. The VAR refs are separate refs, and they tell the referee on the pitch whether or not they should review the last call. And there's all the sorts of reasons that they keep telling us that this isn't happening correctly. But it's stoppage time. Best player in the world. Defender's got 2 arms around him. He should at least check. There should be at least something that says, you know what, maybe I was wrong. A little humility. Let's get the call right. A little integrity. Let's get the call right. And go over and check the video. And they didn't do it, which is really, really frustrating. Because he'd already missed a penalty, right? Who says that he couldn't have missed another one?
That penalty was damn. But you know what? I will say one quick thing before we head out of here. Like I said, because again, that comeback was real. But I think there needs to be a conversation in England as far as why Aaron Ramsdale is not your starting keeper, because that save he made in extra time, I was like,
top drawer.
That's top shelf right there. That's absolutely. And you have a guy that's literally saving games for you on the first place team in your country, but you're trying to say that the guy that's fighting relegation with Everton is your starter. And I'm like, and Everton hasn't been good in a minute. And I'm like, either he's not as good as you think, or maybe he's one of those guys like Maguire. It's like you're only good with England. I'm like, it doesn't add up. But we'll make sure to.
I can help answer that question. One, there's all the politics in England, the same as how USA politics with MLS teams are like. You have to have an FC.
But even then,
player. That kind of little politics that goes on in England, it's kind of the same way. Like Jordan Pickford for Everton, all that kind of stuff. But here's the thing: there's also a little American bias there because who's the other keeper pushing in first place? Matt Turner. There's a little bias.
But even then, I'm like,
American pushing you.
But even then, like, I don't think that the competition is that heavy. I don't. But and again, like it's the guy's literally leading your first place team right now, and people are trying to really try to justify like, hey, it's not because of him. I'm like, granted, everything finally came all together for Arsenal this year, but and he's a part of that. Like when they signed Ramsdale last year, that finally solidified their keeper position for the first time in like years. And I think that, their ascent has coincided with him being there, and the fact that like that is recognized more, and him at least making it a conversation and debate. I'm like,
conversation, yeah.
He should at least be, getting more opportunities to start. I'm like, that should easily be there, because I'm like, there's like, what's going to happen if Everton does get relegated this year? Then you'll be like, okay, yeah, like we're gonna keep this guy as our starting keeper. I'm like, no, nothing about that makes sense. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that and more later on this week on the international episode. Catch us there. Catch on your favorite podcast apps. As always, you can catch us on the socials at FTC UTD on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, FTC UTD Pod on TikTok. Again, thank you to Imani Dub. Keep up the great work in Austin. Like I said, hopefully all that other bullshit will get handled soon enough. But until then, the culture's real. Culture's everywhere. Take care of your bodies, people. Take care of your bodies. Take care of your bodies. Take care of your chicken. We will see y'all soon, and we out.
FTC UTD.